99X, message in a bottle, the police. You know, Stuart Copeland's got a new book coming out next week, Police Diaries. It's, quote, the band's truest account of their early days, end quote. It's got a bunch of original diary entries that I guess he snapped or scanned, took some pictures of, and made a book out of it.
Why not?
Yeah, it's from their starving years, from 76 to 79. Are we going to have Stuart Copeland on?
We're trying to. I'd like to hear about the starving years.
That would be very, very cool. Lot of inundated with DMs and emails asking for if we would replay Mick. So we're going to do that next. That
Mick
dude,
Jagger?
Yeah, that dude Mick.
I like that you're like on a first name basis with him.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but I had a really in-depth conversation with this guy Mick.
Yeah, because you had that shirt that says, "Who the F is Mick Jagger?"
Yeah, you say it for real, Leslie.
No.
Okay. It's time to talk divorce. It's a topic that's near and dear to many hearts because, one, they're probably paying for it monthly, or two, they're maybe thinking about it. And we have an expert, a resident expert. Please welcome Jarrod Oxendine. Hey, Jarrod.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back on. Excited to be here.
You always sound so cheery.
Yeah.
I have to keep this in a positive light, Leslie. You know, people come see me and they're not always at their best, and they're kind of upset or they may be mad or going through some stuff. So I have to always present the positives because they're always there.
It's always funny when they say Jarrod Oxendine's on hold for you. I'm like, oh. But no, it's a good call. It's a good call.
You know, Jarrod, since I do celebrity sleaze, I'm always intrigued by these high-powered Hollywood divorces. Seems like Laura Wasser, who settled the one with Kevin Costner and Christine Baumgartner, is now the one that just settled the Ariana Grande, Dalton Gomez divorce. What about these payouts? Are these normal? Because I guess even with a prenup now, there's like a payout, because I guess she had to give Dalton $1,250,000 tax-free.
Yeah, it just depends what's in your prenuptial agreement. I'll tell you the way I draft mine. I draft mine to say anything you bring into the marriage is yours, and you get to keep it, and it doesn't matter if you add money during the marriage. So in other words, let's say you've got like a 401k account, and yeah, that's yours when you get married, but if you add money to that 401k during the marriage, that part is marital and it's subject to division. So these cases that you're hearing about, such as Costner and Ariana Grande and all the other celebrities, it really depends what's in the prenuptial agreement. Maybe those prenuptial agreements say, hey, I keep what I brought in, but the money that's earned during the marriage, we have to split. So it really depends what those prenuptial agreements state. And, I assume with these big celebrity folks, the person that's marrying them, they don't want to get left holding the bag. So if they've got an attorney representing them, they're negotiating these things and they're saying, hey, we'll sign it, but we want to be guaranteed X number of dollars. Or, if there's money that's acquired, during the marriage, then I want my client to have a claim to a portion of that.
But that's fair, though, right? I mean, it's the people who have a problem with that were gold digging anyway.
That's exactly right. It is. But honestly, 99% of the prenuptial agreements I do say exactly what I said. The only time we divide anything under most of my prenuptial agreements is if it's jointly titled. So if the parties, after they got married, decide to put in asset in joint names, they buy a house together or they open a savings account and they put that in joint names, that's equal divided. But if it's in the husband's name, husband keeps it. If it's in wife's name, wife keeps it. That's the most ironclad prenuptial agreement.
All right, we have a listener question, and by the way, we're collecting these for future episodes.
Yes.
If you would like to send it anonymously, just send it to us, hi@themorningx.com, and we will, or you can leave it on the voicemail if you don't even want to, block your number, whatever. This one, of course, these are anonymous, so I'm going to paraphrase her question. So I don't want to read her exact writing, so that way it's not like someone says, that's my wife, that's the way she talks. So I've kind of put this through the Barnesnomics, what's it called, translation machine. So basically, she is a high-earning female, which we've talked about before, a lot of this trend of high-earning divorcing the football Saturday husband or whatever you want to call him. She is about to do it, hasn't done it yet, wants to know the best way to protect herself financially. And what she means, I believe, is the way she's describing it is they have a bunch of joint things, but she's the big earner, but they're all joint accounts. So her question is, before she files for divorce, and that triggers reactions from obviously the other side, what can she do to protect herself and her fair rights to the money?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what she can do, and I've done this many times. I actually had this conversation with a guy earlier this week. These high-income earners, those are usually the ones that have the control over the finances. They're managing the money. Most of the time, the spouse is removed from that, and they're not completely aware of what all the assets are. So what I will tell people is, now that you've come in and met with me and I've told you what your exposure is, you know that if you go through the formal divorce process, your maximum exposure or what you may have to pay your spouse is X. So now that you know that, go to your spouse, have a conversation, dangle a bright, shiny carrot in front of their face. It looks like it's a lot of money and they just couldn't possibly turn it down, and see if they will agree. And then you can smile on the way to the bank because you know you just saved a lot, because I've told you what you probably would have to pay and you got them to agree to a much lesser number.
But then
that would be a – go ahead.
No, I was going to say that you have to get them to sign off on that. Obviously, they're going to go to a lawyer who isn't the lawyer going to say, no, we need to push.
If they do that, Barnes, so that's kind of the whole deal here, is right. I mean, if you make it attractive enough, then your spouse may sign off on it and never hire their own attorney. You would be surprised how many times that happens.
Really?
Where I'll have a client go present a settlement offer to their spouse, and it's so attractive in their mind that they think the spouse is doing them a favor, and they just can't wait to sign off on it. And so I drafted the documents, and both parties sign it. I submit to the court, and we're done. So that would be an uncontested divorce. Yes, if they turn the offer down, they get their own attorney. It's a whole different process. That attorney is going to discover what all the assets are, and then obviously the claims would change at that point. But it's worth a try, right? I mean, if you're the high-income earner, and the question is, what can I do to try and protect myself and get the best result possible? Keep it in mind, Barnes and Leslie, I represent folks, so I'm aggressive, and I'm zealously advocating for them to get the best result they possibly can. That is the advice I give, and it works out for those folks sometimes. And it's still, don't be too upset for the other person, because they're still getting a lot of money. They may be leaving some money on the table, but guess what? They're saving the aggravation of having to go through a contested divorce process. They're not having to pay attorneys. They get closure. They can move on, and they've decided, as an adult, that this agreement and the terms of this agreement are acceptable to me, and this is what I need to move forward with my life. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for either party.
You're so upbeat. I love it. How the other sticky situation in divorces of obviously when children are involved. So how do you ensure that you're protected there and that you're able to see your children and, have the time to be able to see them? That to me is like one of the stickier subjects.
It is, and a lot of people make a mistake with that. So historically, whatever y'all have been doing concerning custody and parenting time is most likely what the court's going to adopt. So if you have not been the primary caretaker and you're out working and traveling and not really tending to the children's day-to-day needs, you're not going to get custody most likely. You might not even get 50-50. But if you are that person that's had the majority of the parenting time and you're doing the daily caretaking, or let's say you're doing at least half of it, and then you decide, you have the bright idea that, I'm tired of this situation. I don't want to stay in this household anymore. I can't stand it. I've had enough. And you move out. And then you leave the children behind, right? Now the children are spending more time with the other parent, and you may be losing some of your claims that you would have either for custody or an equal sharing of parenting time because you have left the house and left the children behind with your spouse. Man. So don't make that mistake.
It's all so hard. Well, we do this once a month. Jarrod, thank you. You always have great answers. And everybody, this is free legal advice from the man. So if you have a question about divorce, whether you're in it, about to be in it, whatever, send it to hi@themorningx.com. Jarrod, thank you.
Thank you all. We'll speak to you next month.
You can find Jarrod at oxlawfirm.com.
The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie. 99X.